So why is my why so hard to figure out? I've spent about half my life trying to figure out why I'm here. And I think this thought first showed up in high school, then college, and then it just continued off and on for a few decades. And the only way I could get this to stop was actually by doing stuff, by keeping busy. And I think you've probably asked the same thing, like, what's the point? Am I happy? What's the meaning of all this? What's the meaning of life? There's a few dozen variations of this question. And if you dig deep enough, you're going to keep coming back to the root question, which is only one word: why? And I asked this when I was broke. I asked it when I was rich. I asked it when nothing was working. Asked it when everything was working. I asked this same question on motorcycles. I asked it in hotel rooms, in the shower. I remember asking it literally lying next to my wife in bed at 1 a.m. when she's sleeping. I kept asking the same question over and over and over again. And the question really didn't care where I was. It just wanted to be pondered, like thought about, until I figured out how to get it to stop. But before that, I went looking for the answer in all the places that they tell you to look. I looked inside. I read a ton of books. I journaled. I closed my eyes, and I thought about my future self. I got pretty good at sitting in a quiet room and just trying not to think. And none of this gave me what I was looking for. I'd feel clear for like an afternoon, and then I'd be driving home from work, and this question would be waiting in the driveway. So eventually I started to wonder, why is my why so hard to figure out? And this is the thing I want to talk to you about right now. I think we've been told to find our purpose inside ourselves, to go deep. And that's a beautiful idea that just doesn't work. And I think the reason it doesn't work is that the thing we're looking for was never just in here. It's out there sitting in plain sight. It's just that we keep walking right past it. I think your why, your purpose has a face. And I think it might have more than one. So let me tell you how I figured this out, because this took me a while, man. And I admit I was wrong for a long time. But a few years ago, I rode a motorcycle across the country by myself. 2,667 miles, mostly off-road on this route called the Trans-American Trail. I wanted to do this thing for years, and I was watching YouTube videos, and finally Kelly just tells me, stop watching and just go. So I packed up, hopped on a plane, flew to Salt Lake City, Utah, and off I went. And it was beautiful. And I want to say that first because I don't want this to sound like the trip was bad or it didn't do what it was supposed to do, because it wasn't bad. It was one of the most beautiful things, man, one of the most incredible things I'd ever done. I rode through land and country that I'm never going to forget. I was alone in places that I had only ever seen in pictures. And no one needed anything from me. Nobody knew where I was. I could just be a man on a bike for a while, which is something I wanted to be for a long time. But the whole time I was thinking about everybody else. I'd climb up this huge ridge in Colorado, and the first thing that my brain would tell me was, I wish Kelly was here. I'd push through a river crossing that a motorcycle probably shouldn't go through, and the first thing I wanted to do was call my boys. I'd build a fire at night. I'd sit there, and I'd imagine myself wishing my father-in-law was telling me one of his stories that I'd heard 100 times. The trip was happening exactly the way I thought it would happen, and I just kept noticing the same thing again and again and again, that the parts I wanted to keep with me were the parts that I wanted to actually share with everybody important to me. And I didn't know what to do with that at the time. I finished the trip. I rode home the last few days in the rain, and then I just went back to my regular life. You know, I told people the trip was amazing because it had been, but I left out the part where I'd been lonely the whole time because I wasn't sure that detail really was part of the story that I wanted to tell. In that adventure, it bred a lot of excitement. So next year, a bunch of us did something crazy. So my 3 sons, my father-in-law, a group of 11 guys, rode from New Mexico up and down the Rocky Mountains, in and out of all these little mountain towns, all the way up to Montana. Man, we got lost almost every day. We had arguments about which fork in the road to take, and I'm not even sure those arguments are fully resolved right now. This trip was messy. It was hard. But man, it was so beautiful. I'd say it was at least 10 times better than the trip I had done alone. And I want you to think about that for a second, because the dirt was essentially the same. And my son Manny actually rode the same motorcycle that I bought a year earlier. So the machines were very comparable. I was the same guy. The only difference was the people with me. And then the fact that the experience moved up by an order of magnitude. So this is when I started to suspect that I had been pointed the wrong way, the wrong direction my whole life. The thing that I've been chasing since I was 14, the thing that I was going to try to find inside of me, had been sitting on the other side of the campfire. So here's the idea. Your why is a who, and that's it. You can stop searching right now. You don't have to find some grand abstract concept to anchor your existence to. You just have to look up from your laptop and notice who's in the room. And if you want to test this, you can do it in about 10 seconds. So think about the last time something good happened to you, or the time you did something really hard and it worked out. So it could have been a promotion or a big deal that closed. Maybe you found out that you were having a baby, or your offer came back accepted on your first house, or the day maybe that bad medical scan came back fine for you or someone that you love. Whatever it was, now notice what happened next. You wanted to share that with someone. That person or those people, that's your answer. The fact that your mind reached for a person and not something else, that's the data point. Your higher self knows what your purpose is. Your higher self is known the whole time, and that's why you feel a little bit off when you fail to recognize it. And I think at this point, some of you you're not along, but some of you might be getting ready to push back a little bit because it sounds a little bit soft. Maybe, I don't know, a little bit like Hallmark. Your why is the people you love? Cool. Can I get that on a coffee mug? Right? What's the rigorous theory of meaning here? And I get it because I felt that way too. So let me just push on this a little bit more because it doesn't just stop here. I noticed that when I went deep on this concept off and on for the past few years, that every person in it was a gift. Like, I didn't earn my wife. I met her. I don't know exactly how that happened in any cosmic sense, but the timing of my life and her life was not arranged by me. My sons didn't pick me. They showed up at the perfect time. My closest friendships are the result of 100 little small accidents, maybe the wrong job in the right year, or the parents who just happen to be the same parents on the baseball team. And those relationships matter deeply. To me, they define the clearest evidence of purpose. And if you keep peeling back these layers, I think really underneath every one of these is a deeper one. The first relationship, the one that really holds the rest together, God. And that's what I call the super who. It's the who beneath every who. It's the creator behind every face that we love. Now, I want to take a minute and be straight with you and tell you exactly what I believe. And I'm going to do this without a bunch of wind up. So I believe that God made us. He's our creator. And I believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And we were built for a relationship with him, a real relationship, like the kind where you're sitting in your truck on your way to a meeting and you just talk to him. He wants you to bring the questions that you wouldn't say out loud in front of anybody else. And he definitely wants you to try to stop cleaning yourself up first, because he's already seen the whole mess and he's still in the room with you and with me. Now, with all that said, I can understand how some people want proof before they can even entertain the idea of God. And we can't dismiss that. Some people sit in that space for years, and I've got a lot of respect for people that ask those tough questions. But I'm going to be honest with you. When I look at my wife, my sons, at nature, the trees, the human body, and like 1,000 other things, like the fact that your heart has been beating since before you had a conscious thought. When I look at the way forgiveness can heal someone, can heal something, I don't see randomness. I see design. And I think the skeptics have a much harder time proving the opposite than I do proving this. So think about this. When God isn't at the center of your life, you don't get just this quiet little gap that you can ignore. You get like this weight transfer. In the center of that, it doesn't disappear, but something else is going to fill it. We're wired for relationships, so that something else is usually someone else. So we're going to hand this weight to our wife or our kids or our friends. We hand it to coworkers. We hand it to people we want to be friends with. But I think the key here is that we start asking those who's to be the foundation of our life instead of the gifts in our life. We ask our spouse to make us feel complete. We ask our children to give us identity. We ask our work people to tell us that we matter. Even our money, we try to use that to give us peace. And then we wonder why love and life starts to feel so heavy. We wonder why the people closest to us seem to be carrying something from us that they can't even name. Humans and stuff, they make terrible gods. Your wife is a gift. She can't be your foundation. Your kids are a gift. They can't be responsible for your identity. So your business may be the most important, meaningful work that you do, but it still can't tell you who you are. Your money can buy you a lot of options, but it's not going to buy you peace. And when you think any of these things can carry weight they weren't built to carry, that's when they start to bend and sometimes they break. But when God is at the center, everything else gets to become what it was meant to become. Your wife, she gets to be your wife instead of your savior. Your kids get to be your kids instead of this scoreboard. Your business gets to be work instead of your worth. The pressure comes off the people you love because you're no longer being asked to do a job that God was designed to be doing. He's the super who. And this isn't a concept I came up with on a whiteboard. It's a relationship with the one who made you, the one who already knows what you've done and still wants you to be closer. The one who doesn't need you to perform your way to being loved, which I think is a wild thing for many of us to consider. I love this idea. God doesn't care who you were. He cares who you are right now. And then when that floor is solid, the rest of your life can finally breathe. I think back to a fire at the end of my motorcycle trip, and I was tired and dirty and worn and messy for riding like 12 hours that day. I'd been sleeping rough and I'd been alone with my thoughts for far too long up to this point. So I called my wife, Kelly, earlier in the day, and we talked about completely ordinary things. We talked about the boys and the farm. We talked about what she was eating for dinner. And then I hung up. I sat there watching the fire, and finally I felt something. I really felt this idea that I thought I was chasing the whole trip without even knowing it. I felt like this is why. It's not the motorcycle or the adventure. It's not the achievement of doing something that I told everyone I was going to finish. It was her and them. It was the people I loved. It was the people I wanted to get back to. It was the people I wanted to build my life for and build my life around. These people were the answer to my why. They had faces. And underneath those faces was another one, the one I couldn't see, but I knew was there. The one who gave me Kelly, the one who gave us our boys, the one who gave me breath and work and land and hunger and peace and another chance every single time I needed one. That one had been there in the questions, even when I thought I was sitting there alone. Your why is almost always a who, and the deepest who, the one underneath every who in your life, is the one who made you. That's the super who. That's where your purpose has been hiding all along.